Well, congratulations. You just made it through the longest dialogue Jesus has with anyone in the Gospels. But it is also one of the best readings to preach as your missioner for thriving congregations. It is wonderful to be with you today. It is wonderful to see familiar faces, and I appreciate the invitation to be here. So to have the opportunity to prepare to preach here today gave me a new outline for my conversations with faith communities in my work to help them thrive. So I'm going to test it out with you today, see how it lands. Because in this gospel text, I see at least 5 ways Jesus and the woman at the well demonstrate how we might challenge our preconceived ideas or our non-existent practice of evangelism. Number 1, go out of your way. At the beginning of this story, we hear that Jesus was leaving Judea to get back to Galilee, that he had to go through Samaria. And yes, looking at our biblical maps, we see that Samaria is sandwiched between Judea and Galilee. But you can also see in our historical notes that there was a more traditional route that took you around Samaria, meaning that it wasn't actually necessary. Rather, Jesus chose to go a different route. So you might see how your missioner for thriving congregations might be reading this text as, you mean to tell me that going the less traditional route may lead to unexpected transformational encounters? The second reason I love this passage is that it invites us to be vulnerable. It asks us to have a need. Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans. That's what's noted in the gospel. That is a wild understatement of the relationship between Jews and Samaritans of this time. Wild understatement. It wasn't that they didn't have things in common. It was that they hated each other. And so Jesus, being vulnerable, taking a chance, being brave, goes outside the comfort zone. Jesus doesn't take the societal norm as dictative. Yes, it was understood that Jews and Samaritans didn't hang out at the well. But Jesus goes out of his way to have this encounter. There's a way in which I think we tend to approach evangelism as a we have something that you need mentality, when oftentimes the person we have gone out of our way to meet has something that we, in fact, need. Jesus shows up with a need for survival. Jesus needs water at high noon in the desert. A third reason is something that I personally continue to struggle with, and it's something that I often meet with sort of deer-in-the-headlight reactions from my fellow Episcopalians, is this invitation to have one-to-one relational meetings. What I have learned about these one-to-one relational meetings, and I'm learning this from my ELCA friends, my friends who are also community organizers, is that to get anything done, to sacredly organize ourselves around an issue, it starts with one-to-one meetings. And what blows my mind is that it's literally the thing for which I hate, which is having a meeting for the sake of a meeting, right? No one in our church wants to have a meeting for the sake of a meeting. We want there to be an action. We want there to be an agenda. We want there to be a purpose. We want to know what we're going to get out of this. And what I am learning in this invitation for these one-to-one relational meetings is that we are being asked to meet with people from vulnerability, with curiosity, with interest, with a desire to share our own story, but with no purpose other than to listen, connect, and understand who this person might be. What is it about this person that got them to where they are in this moment? Who is this person that you might find something in common with, some way in which you might build a story together? This is a big sell in the world that we are living in right now, to invite these one-to-one conversations. But what we see in this gospel, in the beginning of this dialogue, we are witnessing two people just trying to figure each other out. They take the time to sit and listen and wonder. And the other part of this conversation is the fourth reason I love this gospel, is that nobody makes any assumptions. Nobody makes any assumptions. Jesus declares that this woman has had 5 husbands, and yet he doesn't care. He doesn't care that that is her story, and he makes no assumptions as to why it is that this woman has had 5 husbands. He might recognize that as a woman, she would have had no choice in what happened to her in these marriages. She has no right to divorce her husband. But if she wasn't able to have children, if there was some way in which he decided that she was unfit, she would be left. She could be widowed, and then, as the custom was, be married off to a brother or someone else. There are many reasons why this woman could have been in this situation. But people who have preached this text have made assumptions. Jesus makes no assumptions. He says what is true, and he sees her as a whole person. And from being seen, from being held with no judgment, this woman drops what she is doing out of sheer excitement and goes to share the good news of this encounter. I have been seen. Isn't that great? Come and check this out. What is this? How liberating to have that experience, that encounter. So my fifth and final reason for why this particular gospel preaches itself as your missioner for thriving congregations is that evangelism comes out of mutual need. Evangelism comes out of mutual need. The disciples come back and worry that Jesus is hungry. Yet he was nourished by his time with this woman. He stays connected, literally stays with the Samaritans for 2 days. And she is elated, feeling seen and known and loved. So this is it. This is the example, the story, the invitation that can reshape or encourage our practices of evangelism. Go out of your way. Transcend societal boundaries with your own need to encounter someone new. Recognize that in this vulnerable adventure, you might just find what you need while offering a place to be seen, to be known, and to be loved. Amen.
Amen.